An abandoned alien. Thought I was his father, and I became one. The alarm screamed through the bridge of the iron crane, pulling Taman from his third cup of coffee. He set down the mug and walked to the console, his boots making soft thuds against the metal floor. The screen showed a distress beacon flashing in the dark space ahead. "Captain, we've got a signal," Do-hyun called from his station. "Looks like a derelict ship. No life signs on the scanner." Taman rubbed his tired eyes. They had been out here for 2 months, collecting scrap from old satellites and abandoned stations. The salvage business was not glamorous, but it paid the bills. He looked at the coordinates and frowned. The ship was drifting near the outer rim, far from any trade routes. "What kind of ship?" Taman asked. Do-hyun typed quickly on his keyboard. "Database says it's Velthir design. One of their transport vessels. Looks pretty damaged from here, Velthir." Taman knew of them. They were tall aliens with skin that looked like crystal, always glowing with soft colors. He had seen a few at trading stations, but never talked to one. They kept to themselves mostly, handling their own business. "Any other ships in the area?" Taman asked. "None, we're alone out here." Taman thought for a moment. Salvage law was clear. If they responded to a distress call and found no survivors, whatever was on that ship belonged to them. It could be worth a lot of money. But something felt wrong about this. The Velthir were careful people. They did not just leave ships floating in space. "All right," Taman said. "Get us closer. Prepare the boarding equipment." 20 minutes later, Taman floated through the dark corridor of the alien ship. His helmet light cut through the shadows, showing walls that sparkled like broken glass. The Velthir ship was beautiful even in its destroyed state. Everything was made from some kind of crystal material that caught and reflected light. Behind him, Yoonji and Do-hyun followed carefully. Yoonji was their medical officer, a sharp woman who could fix both people and machines. Do-hyun was his first mate, loyal and steady. "This place gives me chills," Do-hyun muttered through the comm. "What happened here?" Taman examined the walls. There were burn marks and impact holes everywhere. "Weapons fire. Looks like they were attacked." "By who?" Yoonji asked. "Raiders, maybe. Or pirates." Taman moved forward, his magnetic boots keeping him steady in the zero gravity. "Keep your eyes open." They searched through several rooms. Most were empty, stripped clean. The crew had evacuated in a hurry, taking what they could carry. Taman's hopes of finding valuable salvage were sinking with each empty chamber they found. Then his helmet light caught something. A door at the end of the corridor sealed with a red emergency lock. The symbol on it made him stop. It was the Velthir mark for medical bay. "Found something," Taman said. He moved to the door and examined the lock. It was still powered, which meant something inside needed protection. His heart beat faster. Maybe there was medical equipment they could sell. Do-hyun helped him override the lock. The door hissed and slid open slowly. Cold air rushed out, misting in the light of their helmets. Taman stepped inside. The room was small and filled with medical equipment. In the center stood a large pod made of clear crystal, cracked down the middle. Frost covered its surface, and inside the pod, curled into a small ball, was a child. "Oh my God," Yoonji whispered. The child was tiny, maybe 3 feet tall. His skin was pale blue crystal, and dim lights flickered beneath the surface like dying stars. He wore a simple white gown, torn and dirty. His eyes were closed, and for a terrible moment Taman thought they were too late. Then the child's eyes opened. They were huge and completely black like pools of oil. They focused on Taman with sudden intensity. "He's alive," Taman said, his voice tight. "Yoonji, get over here." Yoonji pushed past him and examined the pod. "The life support is failing. We need to get him out now." Taman pulled at the cracked crystal. It was cold under his gloves, burning his fingers through the material. The pod split further and the child tumbled forward. Taman caught him without thinking. The child was light, too light. Through his suit, Taman could feel how cold the small body was. The child looked up at him with those enormous black eyes, and his mouth opened. A sound came out, soft and musical, like wind chimes. "What's he saying?" Do-hyun asked. Taman's translator crackled to life in his ear. It struggled with the alien language for a moment, then gave him words. "Father, Appa, parent guardian." The child's small hands reached up and grabbed Taman's helmet. The lights under his crystal skin began to pulse faster, brighter. He made the sound again, more urgent this time. "Appa, Appa." "I'm not your father," Taman said gently. But the translator probably could not carry his tone. "I'm here to help." The child did not let go. His fingers gripped the helmet tighter, and he pulled himself closer to Taemin's chest. The lights under his skin flashed in patterns that looked like crying. "Yoonji, what's happening?" Taemin asked. Yoonji was scanning the child with her medical device. I think he's imprinting on you. Some species do that when they're young and scared. They attach to the first safe thing they find. Can we stop it? Not without hurting him. Captain, he's severely malnourished and hypothermic. We need to get him back to the ship now." Taemin looked down at the small creature clinging to him. Every instinct told him this was a bad idea. He was a salvage captain, not a babysitter. He knew nothing about children, especially alien children. This could only lead to trouble. But those black eyes looked up at him with such desperate hope. And the child's grip was so tight, so trusting. "All right," Taemin said quietly. "Let's go home." Getting back to the iron crane was difficult. The child refused to let go of Taemin, even when they went through the airlock. Yoonji had to cut away parts of Taemin's suit while the child still clung to his chest. Once inside, they rushed to the medical bay. Yoonji worked quickly, checking the child's vital signs and setting up equipment Taemin had never seen her use before. "He needs warmth and food," Yoonji said, pulling up information on her screen. "Veltir children require specific care. I'm accessing medical databases now." The child sat on the examination table, his arm still reaching toward Taemin. Every time Taemin moved away, the lights under the child's skin dimmed and he made sad sounds. "He really thinks you're his father," Do-hyun said. He stood in the doorway looking uncomfortable. "What are you going to do?" Taemin did not have an answer. He moved back to the table and the child immediately grabbed his hand. The small crystal fingers were warming up now, no longer ice cold. The lights under his skin pulsed in a steady, calmer rhythm. "First we keep him alive," Taemin said. "Then we figure out where he belongs." "The ship logs," Do-hyun said suddenly. "I should check them. Maybe there's information about what happened." "Good idea. Go." Do-hyun left and Taemin stood there holding the hand of an alien child who thought he was family. Yoonji worked around them, setting up a warm bed with special lights that mimicked Veltir sunlight. "What's his name?" Taemin asked. Yoonji checked her scanner. "There's an identity chip in his arm. Says his name is Hanul. It means sky in Korean." "Sky," Taemin repeated. He looked at the child. "Hello, Hanul." Hanul's lights flashed brightly. He smiled, showing small white teeth, and squeezed Taemin's hand tighter. Taemin felt something shift in his chest. It was strange and uncomfortable, like a door opening that he had kept locked for years. He pushed the feeling away. This was temporary. They would find the child's real family. Everything would be fine. But even as he thought it, he knew things were already changing. And there was no going back. "An abandoned alien thought I was his father, and I became one." Taemin woke up to the sound of crying. Not human crying, but a musical sound that echoed through his small quarters. He sat up quickly, his heart racing. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he remembered. The alien ship. The child. Hanul. 3 days had passed since they found him. 3 very long days. The crying came from the corner where Yoonji had set up a small sleeping pod. Taemin had tried to put Hanul in the medical bay, but the child screamed every time Taemin left. So now the pod sat in Taemin's room, taking up most of the free space. Taemin got out of bed and walked over. Inside the crystal pod, Hanul was curled up, his small body shaking. The lights under his skin flashed red and orange, colors that Yoonji said meant fear and distress. "Hey," Taemin said softly. "It's okay. I'm here." Hanul's black eyes opened. The moment he saw Taemin, the crying stopped. His lights changed to soft blue and green. He reached up with both hands. Taemin sighed and picked him up. The child weighed almost nothing. He wrapped his thin arms around Taemin's neck and made a happy sound like bells ringing. His skin was warm now, no longer the deadly cold of that first day. "You need to learn to sleep through the night," Taemin said. He knew Hanul could not understand most of his words. The translator only worked for simple things. But talking helped. It made the situation feel less strange. Hanul touched Taemin's face with one crystal hand. His fingers were smooth and hard but gentle. He made a questioning sound. "Hungry?" Taemin asked. The child's lights pulsed brightly. That meant yes. Taemin carried him to the small kitchen area. Over the past days, Yoonji had figured out what Veltir children could eat. It was not easy. Most human food was toxic to them. They needed special nutrients, minerals that humans rarely used. Taman prepared a mixture that looked like glowing blue soup. It smelled sweet like flowers. Hunnel grabbed the cup with both hands and drank eagerly, making happy sounds between gulps. "Slow down," Taman said. "You'll make yourself sick." But Hunnel was too hungry. He finished the entire cup in seconds, then looked up hopefully for more. "One more," Taman said. "Then we need to work on your manners." As he prepared another cup, Do-hyun's voice came through the comm system. "Captain, you awake?" "Unfortunately. Need you on the bridge." "Got some information about our passenger." Taman looked down at Hanul, who was watching him with those huge eyes. "Give me 10 minutes. He fed Hanul the second cup, then tried to put him back in the sleeping pod. Immediately, the child's lights turned red. He clung to Taman's shirt, making distressed sounds. "I have to work," Taman explained. "You need to stay here." Hanul did not let go. His grip was surprisingly strong for such a small creature. Taman tried for 5 more minutes, but Hanul only became more upset. Finally, Taman gave up. He grabbed a blanket, wrapped it around the child, and carried him to the bridge. Do-hyun looked up as they entered. He tried not to smile. "Bringing your kid to work?" "Don't start," Taman warned. He sat down in his chair with Hanul on his lap. The child immediately settled down, his lights returning to calm blue and green. "So what did you find?" Taman asked. Do-hyun pulled up data on the main screen. "I finally cracked the ship's logs. That Veltir vessel was called the Crystal Wind. It was a research ship, not a transport like I first thought." "Research?" "Yeah. They were studying ways to help humans and Veltir work together. Medical stuff mostly. Seeing if our species could share technology and resources." Do-hyun paused. "The captain was named Daewon. He was a scientist. His wife Mirai was the ship's doctor." Taman felt Hunnel stiffen in his arms. The child was looking at the screen where images of the destroyed ship appeared. "Those were his parents," Taman said quietly. "I think so. The logs show they were attacked by raiders 4 weeks ago. The crew fought back, but they were outnumbered. They managed to get most people to the escape pods, but the ship was damaged bad." Do-hyun's face was grim.
In the chaos, someone sealed Hanul in the medical bay.
"Maybe to protect him, but then the escape pods launched and he was left behind. They forgot him? Or they thought someone else had him? When you're running for your life, mistakes happen." Do-hyun looked at Hanul. He's been alone in that ship for almost a month in a failing life support pod. It's a miracle he survived. Taman felt sick. A month. This child had been alone in the dark for a month, slowly freezing, probably thinking everyone abandoned him. No wonder he clung so hard to the first person who showed him kindness. "What about his parents?" Taman asked. "Did they make it?" Do-hyun shook his head slowly. "The escape pods scattered. Some were picked up by passing ships. But Daewon and Mirai, their pod was damaged. It never sent out a beacon. The meaning was clear. They were dead." Hanul made a sad sound. His lights dimmed to almost nothing. Somehow, even without understanding the words, he knew they were talking about his parents. Taman pulled the blanket tighter around the small body. "What about other family? Grandparents? Aunts or uncles?" "I'm searching the databases, but Velthir records are private. We'll need to contact their government. That means going to one of the diplomatic stations." Do-hyun checked his console. "Nearest one is 3 weeks away." 3 weeks. Taman looked down at Hanul, who had pressed his face against Taman's chest. The child's lights pulsed slowly like a dying heartbeat. "Can we even take care of him that long?" Taman asked. Yoonji thinks so. She's been reading everything she can find about Velthir children. It's not easy, but it's possible. Do-hyun turned in his chair. "Captain, I have to ask. Are you okay with this? Taking care of an alien kid for 3 weeks? We could try to hand him over to another ship." Taman thought about it. The smart thing would be to find another ship. Someone with experience in alien children. Someone who knew what they were doing. But he remembered how Hanul screamed when they tried to separate them in the medical bay. How his lights turned dark and frightening. How he only calmed down when Taman held him. "We'll keep him," Taman said. "Set course for the diplomatic station. Best speed." "Aye, Captain." The next week was the hardest of Taman's life. Hanul needed constant attention. He could not be left alone for more than a few minutes before he started crying. He needed to eat 6 times a day. His sleeping schedule was strange, with short naps scattered throughout the day and night. Yoonji helped as much as she could, but she had her own duties. Do-hyun tried to entertain Hanul a few times, but the child only wanted Taman. It was exhausting. Taman had never been around children. He was an only child who left home young to join the military. After his service, he went straight into salvage work. He liked machines. They were predictable. They did not cry or need food or wake him up at night. But Hanul was not a machine. On the 8th day, Taman was trying to repair a broken cooling system with Hanul sitting nearby. The child was playing with some spare parts, stacking them into towers and knocking them down. "Appa," Hanul said suddenly. Taman looked up. "What?" Hanul held up a bolt. "Appa, you want to know what it is?" Taman picked up the bolt and showed it to him. "This is a bolt. It holds things together." Hanul's lights pulsed with interest. He reached for another piece. "Appa? That's a wire. It carries electricity." They went through every piece on the floor, with Taman naming each one. Hanul listened carefully, his lights flickering in patterns that seemed almost like writing. After a while, Hanul picked up the bolt again and made a sound. It was rough and strange, but Taman recognized it. The child was trying to say bolt. "That's right," Taman said, surprised. "Bolt!" Hanul's lights flashed so bright that Taman had to look away. The child was proud of himself, and it showed in every glowing pattern across his skin. Something warm spread through Taman's chest. He tried to push it away, but it stayed. He was getting attached. That was dangerous. In 3 weeks, they would reach the station. Someone would take Hanul, someone who knew how to care for him properly, someone who was actually family. That night, Taman had a dream. He was back on the colony where he grew up. His little sister Gina was there, smiling and laughing. She was only 6 years old, wearing her favorite yellow dress. Then the dream changed. Raiders came, fire and screaming. Taman was running, trying to find her, but the smoke was too thick. When he finally found her, she was gone. Just empty space where she should have been. He woke up, gasping. His heart pounded in his chest. He had not dreamed about Gina in years. He thought he was done with those memories. A soft sound made him turn his head. Hanul was standing beside the bed, his lights dim with worry. He had climbed out of his pod somehow. "Bad dream?" Taman asked. Hanul nodded. He understood some things now. After days of watching and listening, he climbed onto the bed and curled up next to Taman, his small body warm and solid. "Me too," Taman admitted. They lay there in the dark, both haunted by different ghosts. Taman put his arm around the child, and Hanul's lights grew calmer. Slowly, they both fell asleep. When morning came, Taman realized 2 things. First, he had slept better with Hanul beside him than he had in weeks, and second, he was in serious trouble, because somewhere between the cold rescue and now, this alien child had stopped being a responsibility. He was starting to feel like family. An abandoned alien thought I was his father, and I became one. The warning alarm started at 3 in the morning. Taman jerked awake, his military training kicking in before his brain fully processed what was happening. Next to him, Hanul stirred and made a questioning sound. "Stay here," Taman said. He grabbed his pants and ran to the bridge. Do-Yun was already at his station, fingers flying over the controls. His face was tight with worry. "We've got company. One ship coming in fast from behind us. Identification?" Taman asked, sliding into his chair. "None. They're running dark, no transponder signal." Do-Yun pulled up the scanner image. "But they're definitely following us. Have been for the past hour, matching our course changes." Taman felt cold. Pirates did not usually operate in this area. It was too close to patrolled space. "Try hailing them." Do-Hyun sent the signal. Static filled the bridge. No response. "They're not interested in talking," Yunji said from the doorway. She had thrown on her jacket over her sleeping clothes. "What do they want?" "Us," Taman said grimly. "Or what we're carrying." He thought about the valuable equipment on the Velthir ship. Maybe someone knew they had salvaged it. But that did not explain the silent approach. Raiders would just demand surrender. Then he thought about Hanul. A child from a research ship, a ship that had been attacked. "They're accelerating," Do-Yun said. "Coming into weapons range in 2 minutes." Taman made his decision. Full power to engines. "Get us out of here." The iron crane lurched forward. It was a salvage ship, not built for speed, but it could move when needed. Behind them, the pursuing ship matched their acceleration. "They're faster than us," Do-Yun said. "We can't outrun them. Then we'll outsmart them." Taman pulled up the navigation chart. "There's an asteroid field 20 minutes ahead. We'll lose them in there." "That's dangerous," Yunji said. "So is getting caught." They pushed the engines hard. The ship groaned and shook, metal complaining about the stress. Behind them, the pursuing ship grew closer. It was sleek and dark, designed for hunting. "Incoming message," Do-hyun said. "Put it through." The screen flickered. A woman's face appeared, sharp and cold. She was human, maybe in her 40s, with short black hair and a scar across her left cheek. Her eyes were like ice. "Captain Park," she said, her voice smooth. "I am Captain Sumin. Stop your ship." "We want to talk." "About what?" Taemin asked, keeping his voice steady. "About the cargo you picked up from the Crystal Wind." Sumin smiled, but it was not friendly. "Specifically the Velthir child." Taemin's blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. We've been tracking that ship for weeks. We knew there was a child on board. Hand him over and we'll let you go. Keep him and things will get unpleasant." "Why do you want him?" Soman's smile widened. "That's not your concern. You have 2 minutes to decide." The screen went black. "Appa?" Taemin turned. Hanel stood in the doorway, wrapped in his blanket. His lights were pulsing red with fear. Somehow he knew something was wrong. "Go back to the room," Taemin said gently. Hanel shook his head. He ran to Taemin and climbed onto his lap, burying his face against Taemin's chest. His small body was shaking. Yoonji came over and scanned Hanul with her medical device. She frowned at the readings. "His stress levels are through the roof. He's terrified." "He should be," Do-hyun said quietly. "Captain, these people attacked the Crystal Wind. They killed Hanul's parents. Now they want him." "Why?" Taemin asked. "He's just a child, I don't know." "But we can't give him to them. We can't fight them either. We have no weapons." They sat in silence, thinking. The pursuing ship grew closer. 1 minute left before they had to decide. Then Hanul did something strange. He sat up in Taemin's lap and placed both hands on the console. His lights began to pulse in rapid patterns, colors swirling under his crystal skin. The patterns spread from his hands into the console, and suddenly, every screen on the bridge lit up with Velthir symbols. "What's he doing?" Do-hyun asked. Yoonji checked her device. "He's connecting to the ship's computer." "I didn't know Velthir children could do that." The symbols scrolled faster and faster. Then one by one the ship's systems began responding. The engines increased power beyond their normal limits. The shield strengthened. Even the navigation computer started calculating new routes that Taemin had never seen before. "He's helping us," Taemin said with wonder. Hanul looked up at him, his black eyes serious. Then he pointed at the asteroid field ahead. "He wants us to go there," Yoonji said. "He's already plotted a course through it." "Time's up," Do-hyun said. "They're firing." Energy bolts streaked past the iron crane. One hit the shields, making the whole ship shake. Alarms blared. "Go!" Taemin shouted. "Follow Hanul's course." Do-hyun grabbed the controls. The iron crane dove toward the asteroid field, moving faster than it ever had before. Behind them, Soman's ship pursued, firing constantly. They entered the asteroids at full speed. Rocks the size of buildings filled the space around them. Do-hyun's hands were white on the controls as he followed the course Hanul had made. The ship twisted and turned, avoiding collisions by meters. "How does he know this path?" Do-hyun shouted over the alarms. "Velthir can sense crystal structures," Yoonji said, holding onto her seat. "These asteroids contain crystals. He can feel where they are." Another energy bolt hit them, this time striking the rear hull. Sparks flew from one of the consoles. Smoke filled the bridge. "We're losing pressure in Section 3, Do-hyun called. "Seal it off." They went deeper into the asteroid field. The pursuing ship followed, but it was struggling now. It was built for speed in open space, not for this kind of navigation. It clipped an asteroid, sending it spinning off course. "They're falling back," Yoonji said. But Soman was not giving up. Her ship corrected and came at them from a different angle, trying to cut them off. "Appa," Hanel said urgently. He pressed his hands harder against the console. More symbols appeared. "What is it?" Taemin asked. Hanel pointed at a massive asteroid ahead. It was different from the others, glowing faintly blue. His lights pulsed in the same color. "He wants us to go there," Yoonji said. "That's solid rock," Do-hyun protested. "Trust him," Taemin said. Do-hyun aimed for the asteroid. As they got closer, Taemin saw it was hollow. There was a tunnel through the center, barely wide enough for their ship. It would be a tight fit. "You're insane," Do-hyun muttered. But he flew them into the tunnel. The wall scraped against the hull with horrible grinding sounds. Warning lights flashed everywhere. They were going too fast, but they could not slow down. Soman's ship was right behind them. Halfway through the tunnel, Hanul made a sharp gesture. Understanding without words, Taman hit the emergency thrusters. The iron crane shot forward, bursting out of the tunnel just as it collapsed behind them. Tons of crystalline rock fell inward, sealing the passage. Salmon's ship tried to follow but had to pull back at the last second. They were trapped on the other side. "We did it," Do-hyun said, breathing hard. "We actually did it." Taman looked at Hanul. The child's lights were dim now, flickering weakly. Using his abilities had drained him. His eyes closed and he slumped against Taman's chest. "Is he okay?" Taman asked, suddenly terrified. Yoonji scanned him quickly. "He's exhausted, but he'll be fine. He needs rest." She looked at Taman with new respect. "That child just saved all our lives." "Yeah," Taman said quietly, holding Hanul closer. "He did." They limped away from the asteroid field, putting as much distance as possible between them and Soman's ship. The iron crane was damaged but still flying. Section 3 was sealed off. The engines were strained but working. Taman carried Hanul back to his quarters and put him in the sleeping pod. The child did not wake up, just made a soft sound and curled into a ball. His lights pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Yoonji followed them in. She had a serious expression. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About why those people want Hanul." She pulled up data on her handheld device. "I've been researching Velthir genetics. Some bloodlines have special abilities. They can interface with technology, sense crystals over long distances, even heal faster than normal. Like Hanul." "Exactly. His parents were scientists studying human Velthir cooperation. What if they discovered something important? What if Hanul's genetics are unique?" Taman understood. "They want to use him, study him, maybe harvest his genetic material. Or worse. There's a black market for Velthir crystals. They're used in medicine, technology, weapons. A child with his abilities would be worth a fortune." The thought made Taman sick. "We need to get him to safety. To his own people. The diplomatic station is still 2 weeks away. Can we make it with the damage we took?" Taman looked at Hanul sleeping peacefully. The child trusted him completely, thought of him as a father, and Taman had failed to protect him. They had barely escaped. "We'll make it," Taman said. "Whatever it takes. No one is taking this child." Yoonji smiled slightly. "You care about him. He's a kid." "Of course I care. It's more than that, and you know it." She put a hand on his shoulder. "You've changed since we found him. You're not as alone anymore." After she left, Taman sat beside the sleeping pod. He thought about what Yoonji said. About Gina, his sister. About how he had failed to save her. About how he swore he would never care about anyone that much again, because losing them hurt too much. But here he was, ready to fight an entire ship of mercenaries for an alien child he had known for 2 weeks. Ready to risk his life and his crew for some abandoned alien thought I was his father, and I became one. The iron crane limped into Outpost 7 5 days after escaping Soman's ship. The repairs Taman and Do-hyun managed were holding, but barely. They needed proper docking facilities and real engineers to fix the damage. The outpost was a massive station floating in neutral space, a meeting point for different species to trade and share information. Taman had been here twice before. It was relatively safe, with security forces from multiple governments keeping the peace. "I'm picking up a lot of military traffic," Do-hyun said, monitoring the communications. "More than usual." "Just get us docked," Taman said. "We need repairs and supplies." Hanul sat on his lap, watching the station grow larger on the screen. The child had been quiet since the attack, his lights dimmer than normal. He stayed close to Taman constantly, afraid to be alone even for a minute. They were directed to docking bay 12. As the ship settled onto the landing pad, Taman saw armed guards waiting outside. His hand moved toward the weapon he kept hidden under his chair. "Easy," Yoonji said. "Those are official security, not mercenaries." A woman in a formal suit approached the airlock. She was human, in her 30s, with long black hair tied back. Her badge identified her as a diplomat. Behind her stood a tall figure in armor. Not human. Velthir Taman's heart jumped. He looked down at Hanul. "Your people are here." Hanul's lights pulsed with sudden hope and fear mixed together. He grabbed Taman's shirt tightly. The airlock opened. The diplomat stepped inside, followed by the Velthir soldier. Up close, Taman could see the differences between the soldier and Hanul. The adult was nearly 7 feet tall, covered in deep blue crystal skin that looked like armor. His face was angular and sharp with the same black eyes but harder, more focused. "Captain Park?" the diplomat asked. Her voice was professional but not unfriendly. "I'm Jiwon Kang, representing the Human Velthir Relations Committee. This is Commander Hyun Nam of the Velthir Military Defense." "Commander," Taemin said, standing up with Hanul in his arms. The child hid his face against Taemin's shoulder. Hyun's eyes fixed on Hanul. His lights pulsed in patterns Taemin did not understand. Then he spoke and Taemin's translator crackled to life. "You found a child from the Crystal Wind?" "Yes, his name is Hanul. We know who he is." Hyun stepped closer. "We have been searching for survivors for weeks." "How did you find him?" Taemin explained everything. The distress beacon, the sealed medical bay, finding Hanul in the failing life support pod. He left out the part about Somin and the mercenaries for now. He wanted to understand who these people were first. Jiwon listened carefully, taking notes on a tablet. When Taemin finished, she exchanged a look with Hyun. "The child is alive because of you," Hyun said. "That is good. But there are complications." "What complications?" Taemin asked. "May we sit?" Jiwon asked. "This will take some time to explain." They moved to the common area. Yoonji brought drinks while Dohyun stayed on the bridge monitoring for threats. Hanul refused to leave Taemin's lap, even when Hyun tried to speak to him directly in Velthir language. "The Crystal Wind was not just a research vessel," Jiwon began. Hanul's parents, Daewon and Mireille, were working on very important medical research, ways to help both our species fight certain diseases. Someone wanted to stop that research, Hyun added, his voice hard. The attack on their ship was planned. Not random raiders. Professional mercenaries. "I know," Taemin said. "They came after us too." Jiwon sat forward. "What?" Taemin told them about Somin and the chase through the asteroid field. About how the mercenaries specifically wanted Hanul. About what Yoonji had discovered regarding his unique abilities. Hyun's lights flashed angry red. "This is worse than we thought. There is a trafficking organization targeting Velthir children with rare genetic traits. We have been investigating for months, but they are very careful." "What do they want with the children?" Taemin asked, though he feared he already knew. "Genetic harvesting," Jiwon said quietly. "Velthir crystals are valuable. Children with special abilities are even more valuable. The black market pays enormous amounts for genetic material." Taemin tightened his arms around Hanul. The child seemed to sense the dark conversation and pressed closer. "We need to take Hanul to Velthir Prime," Hyun said. "He will be safe there." "No," Hanul said suddenly. It was one of the few human words he knew. His lights flashed red and his grip on Taemin became painful. "Hanul, it's okay," Taemin said gently. "No leave, Appa. No leave." Hanul's voice was desperate, mixing Velthir and human words together. Hyun's expression softened. "He has imprinted on you." "That's what our doctor said." Jiwon looked troubled. "Imprinting is serious in Velthir culture. When a child bonds with someone, breaking that bond can cause severe psychological damage. It's like cutting away part of their soul." "I didn't ask for this," Taemin said. "I was just trying to save his life." "And you did," Hyun said. "But now you are responsible for him. In Velthir law, imprinting creates a parental bond as real as blood. You are his father now, whether you intended it or not." The words hit Taemin like a physical blow. Father. Not just someone taking care of Hanul temporarily. Not just a guardian until they found his real family. Father. "I can't be his father," Taemin said. "I'm human. I don't know anything about raising a Velthir child." "You have done well so far," Hyun observed. "The child is healthy and clearly trusts you. That is more important than species." "What about his real family?" Taemin asked. "Grandparents, anyone?" Jiwon checked her tablet. "His parents were only children. The grandparents died years ago. There is an uncle and aunt, but they live on Velthir Prime and did not have close contact with Hanul's family. So he has no one." "He has you," Yoonji said quietly from the doorway. Taemin looked at her, then at Hanul. The child was watching him with those huge black eyes full of trust and hope and fear, waiting to see if Taemin would abandon him like everyone else. "What happens now?" Taemin asked. "That depends," Jiwon said. "The trafficking organization is still active. Hanul is still in danger. We can offer you protection, but we need your cooperation." "What kind of cooperation?" Hyun leaned forward. "We want to take you and Hanul to Velthir Prime, under military escort. There we can protect him while we hunt down the traffickers, and you can meet with the Velthir Council to determine his long-term future. You mean decide who gets custody? If you wish to keep him, yes. It will not be simple. No human has ever adopted a Velthir child. There will be questions, tests, legal processes. But if the bond is real, the council will respect it. Taman thought about his life. The lonely years on the Iron Crane, jumping from one salvage job to another. No home, no family, no one waiting for him anywhere. It was the life he chose after losing Gina. Safe because he could not be hurt if he did not care about anyone. But Hanul had changed everything. This small alien child had crashed through all his walls in just 2 weeks. And now Taman could not imagine his life without those glowing lights and musical sounds, without small hands grabbing his shirt and a sleepy face against his chest in the morning. If I agree to this, Taman said slowly. What about my crew? My ship? Your crew can come if they wish, Jiwan said. We will repair your ship and provide compensation for your trouble. This is the least we can do. And if the council decides I'm not fit to be Hanul's father, Jan's expression was serious, then he will go to his aunt and uncle. They are good people who will care for him. But the imprinting bond, it will hurt him, and it will hurt you. Taman looked at Hanul again. The child had relaxed slightly, seeing that Taman was not angry or afraid. His lights pulsed in soft colors and he touched Taman's face gently. Appa stay? Hanul asked in careful human words. Yeah, Taman said, making his decision. Appa stays. Hanul's lights exploded in brilliant colors. He wrapped his arms around Taman's neck and made happy sounds that echoed through the room. For the first time since the attack, he seemed truly at peace. We will prepare for departure tomorrow, Jan said, standing. My ship, the Silver Dawn, will escort you to Velthir Prime. It is a 2-week journey. That's fine, Taman said. We need time to repair anyway. After the diplomat and commander left, Unji and Dohyun came to sit with Taman. So you're really doing this? Dohyun said. Becoming an alien dad. I guess I am. You know this is crazy, right? You could just hand him over, walk away, go back to salvage work. I could, Taman agreed. But I won't, Unji smiled. Good, because that child needs you. And I think you need him too. That night, Taman lay in bed with Hanul sleeping beside him. The child's lights pulsed in peaceful rhythms, casting dancing shadows on the walls. He had one small hand wrapped around Taman's finger, even in sleep. Taman thought about the journey ahead, meeting the Velthir Council, proving he could be a good father to an alien child, fighting whatever legal battles came his way. It would not be easy. Nothing about this was easy, but as he watched Hanul sleep, so trusting and safe, Taman knew he would face it all. Because somewhere in the past 2 weeks, this child had stopped being a responsibility, or even a rescue. He had become family, and Taman would move stars to keep him safe, sleep well, an abandoned alien. Thought I was his father, and I became one. The Silver Dawn was beautiful. Taman had never seen a Velthir military ship up close before. It looked like a massive crystal palace flying through space, glowing with internal lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Compared to his small iron crane, it was like comparing a rowboat to an ocean liner. They traveled in convoy, with the Silver Dawn leading and the iron crane following under its protection. Hyun had assigned 2 smaller escort ships as well. He was taking Hanul's safety seriously. Appa, look! Hanul pressed his face against the window of their quarters, pointing at the Velthir ship. His lights pulsed with excitement. Pretty. Very pretty, Taman agreed. He was teaching Hanul more human words every day, and the child was learning fast. His Velthir language was also getting better, now that he had Velthir crew members from the Silver Dawn visiting regularly. One of those visitors was a young Velthir woman named Bora. She was a medical officer who specialized in child care. She had been helping Taman understand Hanul's needs better. Today we learn colors, Bora said, arriving with a box of teaching materials. Her lights pulsed in friendly green patterns. Is good time, always a good time to learn, Taman said. They spread out colored crystals on the floor. Hanul loved this game. He would touch each crystal and make it glow, matching the color with his own skin. Red, Bora said, holding up a crystal. Wed, Hanul repeated, making his skin flash bright red. Blue. Boo! Yellow, Hanul paused. Yellow was harder for Velthir to produce. It took him a moment of concentration. But then his skin shifted to a pale gold color. He looked at Taman proudly. "Good job," Taman said, and Hanul's lights brightened with happiness. They went through more colors, then shapes, then numbers. Hanul absorbed everything like a sponge. Bora was impressed. "He is very smart," she told Taman after Hanul fell asleep for his afternoon nap. "His abilities are developing faster than normal. The imprinting with you has stabilized his emotional core, allowing his mind to grow strong." "Is that good?" Taman asked. "Very good. Traumatized children often struggle to learn, but Hanul feels safe now. He can focus on growth instead of survival." Bora paused. "You have done well, Captain Park. Call me Taman, and I'm just doing my best. That is all any parent can do." After Bora left, Taman sat watching Hanul sleep. The child had changed so much in 3 weeks. He was gaining weight, his skin brighter and healthier. He smiled more, laughed more. The terror in his eyes had faded, replaced with curiosity and trust. But Taman also knew the hard part was coming. In 1 week, they would reach Velthir Prime. He would have to face the council, prove he deserved to keep Hanul, and if he failed, he pushed the thought away. He would not fail. He could not. That evening, Commander Hyon invited Taman and his crew to dinner on the Silver Dawn. It was a formal affair, with important Velthir officers present. Taman brought Hanul, who was excited to see the big ship from inside. The dining hall was breathtaking. The walls were made of clear crystal, showing the stars outside. Lights floated in the air like fireflies, and the furniture seemed to grow organically from the floor. "This is amazing," Yonji whispered. "Try not to break anything," Dohyun muttered. Hanul held Taman's hand tightly, overwhelmed by the grandeur. But when the Velthir crew members saw him, they all made their lights pulse in welcoming patterns. Several came over to greet him in Velthir language. "Little one, you have grown strong," an elderly Velthir woman said. Her skin was pale and covered in intricate patterns of age. "Do you remember the old words?" Hanul nodded shyly. He spoke in Velthir, his voice musical and clear. The woman smiled, her lights pulsing with approval. "What did he say?" Taman asked Hyun. "He recited a traditional greeting for elders. His parents taught him well." Hyun gestured to a table. "Please sit. Let us eat and talk." The food was interesting. Some dishes were Velthir cuisine, made from crystallized nutrients and mineral compounds. Others were human food, prepared specially for the guests. Hanul tried everything, making faces at some flavors and loving others. "You like the crystal bread?" Bora asked him. Hanul nodded enthusiastically, his mouth full. "Manners," Taman reminded gently. Hanul swallowed, then said, "Thank you. Miss Bora is good." The Velthir around the table made approving sounds. A child with good manners was valued in their culture. During the meal, Hyon asked Taman about his life. About being a salvage captain. About his time in the military. About Earth. "I left Earth 15 years ago," Taman explained. "Joined the Colonial Defense Force, worked as an engineer. After my service ended, I bought the Iron Crane and started salvage work." "Why salvage?" Hyun asked. "With your skills, you could have had better positions." Taman hesitated. He did not like talking about his past. But these people deserved honesty. "I lost someone important. My younger sister. Raiders attacked our colony. I was away on deployment, couldn't protect her. After that, I wanted to be alone. Salvage work was perfect for that." Silence fell around the table. The Velthir understood loss. Their own people had suffered from raider attacks. "And now you are alone no more," Hyun said quietly. Taman looked at Hanul, who was trying to teach Dohyun a Velthir hand game. "No. Now I'm not alone." After dinner, Hyon took Taman aside to a private observation room. Through the crystal walls, they could see a beautiful nebula painting space with colors. "In 4 days, we will reach Velthir Prime," Hyun said. "I must prepare you for what comes next." "Tell me." "The council consists of 12 elders representing different regions of our world. They will ask you many questions about your background, your intentions, your ability to care for Hanul. Some will be kind. Others will be suspicious. Why suspicious? Because this has never happened before. A human raising a Velthir child. There are those who believe it is wrong. That Hanul should be with his own kind, learning his own culture. I'm not trying to erase his culture," Taman said defensively. "I want him to know where he comes from, who his parents were. I just want to keep him safe." I believe you. But you must convince the council. Hyun turned to face him. There is also the matter of Hanul's relatives. His uncle Taejin and Aunt Yuna will be there. They are good people, but they come from a traditional family. They may challenge your custody. Do they want him? They want what is best for him. But they believe that best means being raised by Velthir in Velthir ways. They see your bond as an accident, not a true family connection. Taemin felt frustration rising. Hanul gets to decide, doesn't he? He chose me. Children's choices are respected but not absolute. If the council believes you cannot provide proper care, they will override the imprinting bond. It will hurt Hanul, but they will say it is necessary for his long-term well-being. That's not fair. Life is not fair, Captain. But I will advocate for you. So will Jiwon and others who have seen your bond. We believe in what we have witnessed. They stood in silence, watching the nebula. Taemin thought about what he would say to the council. How he would prove his love for Hanul was real and strong. Can I ask you something? Taemin said. Of course, why are you helping me? You don't know me. For all you know, I could be a terrible person. Hyun's lights pulsed thoughtfully. I have children. 3 of them, all grown now. I remember when they were young, how they would look at me with complete trust. How they believed I could protect them from anything. He looked at Taemin. I have seen Hanul look at you that way. That is not something false or forced. That is real love. And love, Captain Park, is the most important thing a parent can give. The next few days passed quickly. Taemin spent every moment with Hanul, teaching him new things and learning from him in return. The child showed him Velthir meditation techniques, ways to calm the mind using light patterns. In exchange, Taemin taught him about human music, playing songs from his old collection. Hanul loved music. He would dance to the rhythms, his lights pulsing in time with the beats. Watching him, Taemin realized this was what happiness looked like. Pure and simple joy. Appa, Hanul said one night before bed, what is Velthir Prime like? It's your homeworld. Where you were born. It's supposed to be very beautiful. Will my mama and papa be there? The question hit Taemin like a punch. They had not talked much about Hanul's parents. The child knew they were gone, but he did not fully understand what death meant. No, little one, Taemin said gently. They're not there anymore. They're in the stars now, watching over you. Hanul's lights dimmed. I miss them, I know. It's okay to miss them. Do you miss someone? Taemin thought of Gina. Yes, my sister. She's in the stars too. Maybe they are friends, Hanul said hopefully. In the stars. Maybe they are. Hanul was quiet for a moment. Then he said, but I have you now. Right, Appa? Right, you have me, always. Always, Hanul repeated as if testing the word. Then he smiled and settled down to sleep, his lights pulsing with contentment. On the final day before reaching Velthir Prime, Taemin stood on the bridge of the Iron Crane with his crew. Through the window, they could see a blue and green planet growing larger. It was covered in crystal forests that caught the light of its sun, making the entire world sparkle like a jewel. That's something, Do-Yun said quietly. Beautiful. Yoonji agreed. Hanul press an abandoned alien. Thought I was his father, and I became one. Velthir Prime was more beautiful than any picture could capture. The landing platform sat on a high mountain, surrounded by forests made of crystal trees that sang in the wind. Cities spread across valleys below, their buildings grown rather than built, all glowing with soft internal light. In the distance, twin moons hung in a purple sky. Hanul could not stop staring. His lights pulsed in patterns Taemin had never seen before, rapid and complex. He was speaking in Velthir language, too fast for the translator to keep up. What's he saying? Taemin asked Bora, who had accompanied them to the surface. He is remembering, Bora said softly. Words his mother taught him. Songs about home. It is all coming back. A group of Velthir officials waited at the edge of the platform. At their center stood 2 figures who stepped forward as Taemin's group approached. One was male, tall and elegant with dark green crystal skin and silver patterns of age. The other was female, slightly shorter with light blue skin that shimmered like water. That is Taejin and Yuna, Hyun said quietly. Hanul's uncle and aunt. Hanul saw them and went very still. His lights pulsed uncertainly. He recognized them, but barely. These were family he had met maybe twice in his short life. Taejin spoke in Velthir, his voice deep and resonant. The translator provided his words. Hanul, you have grown. We are glad you are safe. Hanul pressed closer to Taemin's leg. He did not run to his relatives. He did not smile. He just watched them with wary black eyes. Yuna's lights flickered with what might have been sadness. You do not remember us. That is understandable. You were very young when we last met. Hello, Hanul said in human language, not Veltir. I am Hanul. This is my Appa. The introduction was deliberate. Taman felt it. Hanul was claiming him, making it clear where his loyalty lay. Tajin's gaze moved to Taman. His expression was hard to read, but his lights pulsed in colors that suggested doubt and concern. You are Captain Park, the human who found our nephew. Yes, Taman said. I'm honored to meet Hanul's family. Family, Tajin repeated the word slowly. Yes, we are his family, his blood, his people. The emphasis was clear. Jiwan stepped forward smoothly, breaking the tension. Perhaps we should move to more comfortable surroundings. The council chamber is prepared for the hearing. The hearing? Taman's stomach tightened. It was time. They were led through crystal corridors that reflected light in dizzying patterns. Hanul held Taman's hand tightly, looking around with wide eyes. He stumbled once, and Taman caught him. Too much? Taman asked quietly. Hanul nodded. Big. Everything big, I know. But you're doing great. The council chamber was a large circular room with walls that showed images of Veltir history. 12 chairs sat in a semicircle, each occupied by an elder. They ranged in color from deep purple to pure white, their patterns showing centuries of life experience. In the center was a smaller circle with chairs for those being questioned. Taman sat down, pulling Hanul onto his lap. The child refused to sit separately. An elder with white crystal skin and gold patterns spoke first. The translator identified her as Elder Minji, the council leader. We are gathered to determine the future of the child Hanul, son of Dewan and Mirai, both deceased, Minji said. Her voice was ancient and powerful. Before us is Captain Taman Park, a human, who claims parental bond through imprinting. Also present are Taijin and Yuna, blood relatives who have expressed interest in custody. We will hear all sides and make our judgment. Let me speak first, Taijin said, standing. His lights pulsed with authority. Hanul is of our blood, the last remnant of my brother's family. He belongs with us, learning our ways, growing strong in his heritage. We have prepared a home for him. He will receive the best education, the finest care. He will know who he is and where he comes from. But will he be happy? Taman asked before he could stop himself. The elder's lights flickered. One did not interrupt in council chamber. Captain Park, Minji said, you will have your turn to speak. I'm sorry, Taman said, but I had to ask. Because I see Hanul right now. He's terrified. He's in a strange place with people he doesn't know. And the only thing keeping him calm is me. Not his uncle. Not his aunt, me. That is because of false imprinting, Tajin said sharply. A confusion born of trauma. With time and proper care, he will bond with his true family. And if he doesn't? Taman challenged. What if breaking this bond damages him? What if he never recovers? That is a risk we must take, Yuna said quietly. She had been silent until now. We do not wish to hurt him, but a human cannot raise a Veltir child properly. You do not know our ways, our culture, our history. How will you teach him who he is? I'll learn, Taman said simply. I'm already learning. Bora has been teaching me. Hyun has been teaching me. Even Hanul teaches me every day. And I'll make sure he knows about his parents, his people, everything important. It is not enough, Tajin said. You are human. He is Veltir. This is wrong. Why? Taman stood up, still holding Hanul. Because we're different species. Because I don't glow? Because my skin isn't made of crystal? His voice grew stronger. I fed him when he was hungry. Held him when he had nightmares. Protected him from people who wanted to hurt him. I've learned his language, his needs, his fears. I've changed my entire life for him. What part of that is wrong? The chamber was silent. Even the elders seemed taken aback by his passion. Elder Minji spoke. Your dedication is clear, Captain Park. But dedication alone does not make a parent. The council must consider what is best for the child's development, his education, his future place in society. I know I'm not perfect, Taman said, his voice calmer now. I'm learning as I go. But I love him, and he loves me. Isn't that what matters most? Love is important, another elder said. This one had deep blue skin and sharp features. But so is cultural identity. How will you teach him Veltir meditation? The crystal songs? The history of his people? I'll bring him here regularly, Taman said. He can spend time with Tajin and Yuna, learn from them. I'm not trying to cut him off from his culture. I just want to be his father. Appa, Hanul said suddenly. He had been quiet, but now he spoke clearly. I speak, Minji's lights pulsed with surprise. The child wishes to address the council? I speak, Hanul repeated firmly. Very well. Come forward, little one. Taman tried to put Hanul down, but the child grabbed his hand and pulled. He wanted Taman to come with him. Together they stood before the 12 elders. Hanul spoke in Velthir, his voice small but steady. Taman's translator provided the words, I am Hanul. I remember my mama and papa. They were good. They loved me. But they are gone. His lights dimmed briefly. I was alone in the dark, cold, scared. I thought no one would come. Then Appa found me. He was warm. He was safe. He said he would help. Hanul's lights grew brighter. Appa fed me, taught me, protected me from bad people, made me laugh, told me stories. When I have nightmares, he holds me. When I am scared, he is brave. When I am sad, he is kind. He looked up at Taman, then back at the council. I know I am Velthir. I know he is human. But he is my Appa. He is my family. Please do not take him away. The chamber was absolutely silent. Several elders had their lights pulsing in colors that suggested deep emotion. Then Hanul did something unexpected. He placed his small hands against the crystal floor and closed his eyes. His lights began pulsing in complex patterns, and suddenly, the entire chamber lit up. Images appeared on the walls, pulled from Hanul's memories. The council saw everything. Taman finding him in the frozen pod. The first time Hanul called him Appa, learning to eat together, playing with spare parts in the engine room. The attack by Soman's ship and how they escaped. Quiet moments of bedtime stories and gentle comfort. Every smile, every laugh, every moment of pure love between them. It was the Velthir way of showing truth. Crystal resonance could not lie. What Hanul felt for Taman was real and deep and unbreakable. When the images faded, Hanul collapsed. Taman caught him immediately, holding the exhausted child close. That kind of crystal projection took enormous energy, especially for one so young. He used life force to show us his heart, Minji said, her voice filled with awe. I have never seen a child his age manage such a display. Yuna stood up, her lights pulsing with something like sadness and acceptance mixed together. We wanted what was best for Hanul. We thought that was us, his blood family. But now I see the truth. She looked at Taman. He has chosen you, not just with words, but with his very soul. He is my brother's son, Tajin said, his voice tight with emotion. But I see now that I was thinking of duty, not love. Of tradition, not happiness. He looked at Taman with new respect. You have given him something we could not. A father who was there when he needed one most. Elder Minji stood, her lights pulsing in formal patterns. The council has witnessed the truth through crystal resonance. We have seen the bond between Captain Park and the child Hanul. Such a bond is sacred in our culture, regardless of species. Another elder spoke, this one with pale green skin. But there are still concerns. Captain Park, how will you provide for Hanul's needs? His education? His connection to Velthir culture? Taman took a breath. He had prepared for this. I'm willing to stay near Velti. 6 months had passed since the council hearing. Taman stood in the workshop of their new home, teaching Hanul how to repair a power converter. The house was built on a hill overlooking both crystal forests and human settlements, a perfect bridge between two worlds. This wire goes here, Taman explained, pointing. Can you connect it? Hanul's small fingers worked carefully, his lights pulsing with concentration. He had grown taller, his crystal skin brighter and healthier than ever. His human language was nearly perfect now, though he still mixed in Velthir words when excited. Done? Hanul announced proudly. Taman checked the connection. Perfect. You're getting really good at this. Because Appa is good teacher. Hanul smiled up at him, his black eyes shining with affection. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change. After the council approved the adoption, Taman had sold some of his salvage equipment and bought this property. It was not big, but it had room for a workshop, living quarters, and a garden where Hanul could play. The iron crane was docked nearby at a small station. Taman still took salvage jobs, but shorter ones now. He never went more than 2 days away. Yoonji and Dohyun had decided to stay with him, adjusting their lives to this new arrangement. They had become true family, not just crew. "Appa, can we visit Uncle Taejin today?" Hanul asked, putting away the tools carefully like Taemin had taught him. "After your lessons," Taemin said. "You have school in an hour?" Hanul made a face but did not argue. He attended a special program that combined human and Velther education through holographic systems. Every morning, teachers from both species appeared in their living room to teach him math, science, language, and history. At first it had been overwhelming, but Hanul was smart and eager to learn. He soaked up knowledge like a sponge, asking endless questions about everything. The door chimed. Taemin checked the screen and smiled. "Speaking of your uncle," Taejin and Yuna stood outside carrying bags of what looked like food. Hanul ran to greet them, his lights flashing excited yellow and green. "Little nephew," Yuna said, kneeling to hug him. "Look how you have grown." "I am 2 inches taller than last month," Hanul announced proudly. "Appa measured me." Taejin laughed, his lights pulsing warmly. "Soon you will be as tall as me." He greeted Taemin with a respectful nod. Over the past months, they had become friends. The initial tension had faded into genuine respect and shared love for Hanul. "We brought traditional feast food," Yuna explained, unpacking the bags. "Today is the Festival of Lights. We thought Hanul should experience it properly." "What is Festival of Lights?" Hanul asked. Yuna's expression softened. "It is when we remember those who have passed into the stars. We light crystals for them and tell stories about their lives." Hanul's lights dimmed slightly. "For Mama and Papa?" "Yes, little one. And for all our loved ones." Taejin pulled out a small box. Inside were 2 beautiful crystals, one blue and one green. "These were your mother and father's bonding crystals. We saved them for you." Hanul took the crystals carefully, his small hands trembling. He held them close to his chest and his lights pulsed in sync with the crystals. Tears formed in his eyes, the first time Taemin had seen him cry about his parents in months. "I miss them," Hanul whispered. "I know," Taemin said gently, kneeling beside him. "It's okay to miss them. They were wonderful people." "Did you know them?" Hanul asked Taejin. "Your father was my younger brother," Taejin said, sitting down so he was at Hanul's level. "He was brilliant and kind. He loved to laugh. And your mother was fierce and gentle at the same time. She could heal the worst injuries and make the best crystal bread." "Tell me more," Hanul pleaded. So they spent the afternoon sharing stories. Taejin and Yuna told tales of Hanul's parents, their work, their dreams. Taemin listened, learning about the people who had created this amazing child. Sometimes Hanul laughed at funny stories, sometimes he cried. But through it all, he held those crystals close. As evening came, they went outside to the garden. Yuna showed Hanul how to place the crystals in special holders that caught the light of the setting sun. As darkness fell, the crystals began to glow, pulsing with internal light. "Now we sing," Yuna said softly. She taught Hanul a traditional Veltir song about remembrance and love. It was beautiful and sad, the words speaking of people who lived on in memories and stars. Hanul's voice was small and uncertain at first, but it grew stronger as he sang. Taemin did not know the words, but he hummed along, his hand on Hanul's shoulder. When the song ended, Hanul looked up at the stars. "Are they watching?" "Always," Taejin said. "And they are proud of you." "How do you know?" "Because you are brave and kind and smart. Because you love and are loved. What more could any parent want?" Hanul thought about this. Then he looked at Taemin. "I have 2 fathers now. One in the stars and one here with me. That makes me lucky." Taemin's throat tightened with emotion. "I think I'm the lucky one." After Taejin and Yuna left, promising to return next week for another visit, Taemin put Hanul to bed. The child was tired from the emotional day but content. "Appa," Hanul said as Taemin tucked him in. "Thank you for letting me remember them. Always, little one. They're part of who you are. But you are my father now. That is okay? More than okay. I'm honored." Taemin brushed crystal hair from Hanul's forehead. "You can love them and love me. Love doesn't run out." Hanul smiled sleepily. His lights pulsed in slow, peaceful rhythms. "I love you, Appa. I love you too, Hanul. More than all the stars." As Hanul drifted to sleep, Taemin went to his own room. On his desk was a message from Commander Hyon. The trafficking organization had been completely dismantled. Salmon and her associates were in prison. Children who had been taken were being returned to their families. Justice had been served. There was also a message from Jiwan. She wanted to interview Taemin and Hanul for a documentary about cross-species adoption. Their story had inspired others. Several human families had approached the council about adopting Veltir orphans from the raids. Taemin smiled. Maybe something good had come from their struggles. Maybe they were opening doors for others. The next morning, Hanul woke up early and climbed into Taemin's bed like he still did sometimes. He pressed his small body against Taemin's side, warm and solid. "Appa, are you awake?" "I am now," Taemin said with mock grumpiness that made Hanul giggle. "I had a dream. Mama and Papa were there. They were smiling. They said you are good father." Taemin's heart swelled. "Yeah? Yeah, they said thank you for taking care of me, for loving me." Hanul looked up at him seriously. "I think they are happy I have you." "I hope so," Taemin said softly. "I'm trying my best. Your best is very good." Hanul snuggled closer. "Can we stay like this a little longer? Before school?" "Of course." They lay there in comfortable silence, watching the morning light paint patterns on the walls. Outside, crystal birds sang their dawn chorus. The house was peaceful and full of love. Taemin thought about the journey that had brought them here. Finding Hanul in that frozen pod, terrified and alone, the struggles to care for him, the attack by Soman, the fear of losing him to the council. Every hard moment had led to this peace, this happiness. He had set out looking for salvage and found a son instead, found a family, found a purpose beyond just surviving each day. "Appa," Hanul said quietly. When I grow up, I want to help other children, ones who are alone and scared like I was. I want to show them they can have families too." Taemin's eyes stung with proud tears. "That's a wonderful dream. Will you help me? Always. Whatever you need." A few hours later, after Hanul's morning lessons, they went to the market in the nearby settlement. It was a mixed community, both humans and Veltir living together. Such places were becoming more common as the two species learned to cooperate. Hanul ran ahead, greeting shopkeepers he knew. Everyone smiled at him. He had become a favorite in the community, his cheerful nature and bright lights bringing joy wherever he went. "Fresh fruit today," a human vendor called. "The young master's favorite crystal melons. 2, please," Hanul said, already reaching for his small credit chip. Taemin had given him an allowance to teach him about money. As they walked through the market, Taemin noticed people watching them, not with hostility but with curiosity and warmth. Some smiled and nodded. A few came over to chat, asking how Hanul was doing, complimenting how well he had grown. They had become symbols of something new. Proof that different species could form real families. That love transcended biology. At the park, they met up with Yoonji and Do-hyun. Yoonji had brought a picnic, and Do-hyun had a new toy for Hanul, a flying drone that responded to crystal resonance. "Uncle Do-hyun," Hanul shouted, running to them. "Not actually your uncle," Do-hyun protested weakly, but he was smiling. "But I guess I'll accept the title." They spent the afternoon playing, eating, and laughing. It was simple and perfect. The kind of day Taemin used to think was impossible for him. As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Hanul sat on Taemin's lap, watching the crystal forests light up for the night. His lights pulsed contentedly. "Appa," he said, "this is the best day." "We have lots of best days now," Taemin said. "Because we are together. Because we are family,"